And welcome back, everybody. This is Rusty here with the Rugby Review. And this week, we're going to be going through round 4 of the Six Nations Rugby Tournament. Now, a little reminder of the game schedule for round 4. March 6th was the game between Ireland and Wales. The following day, March 7th, we saw Scotland versus France, in addition to Italy versus England. And here are the results from round 4. So Ireland versus Wales saw Ireland winning by a score of 27-17. The first game on March 7th between Scotland and France saw a really high-scoring game and saw Scotland winning the game by a score of 50-40. And the third and final game of round 4, very competitive game between Italy and England, saw Italy edging out the victory by a score of 23-18. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into each of these games, and we're going to start off with the Ireland and Wales game. So again, Ireland versus Wales. Ireland won by a score of 27-17. If you happen to get a chance to watch this game, this was just a hugely, it was competitive and it was just hugely physical. It was really, really physical right from the jump. Both teams having to make a lot of tackles, both teams making a lot of dominant tackles as well. In addition, I would say this is probably one of the better games I've seen this Welsh rugby team play in quite a few years. So again, to emphasize the point of just how physical this game was, Ireland had to make 172 tackles and Wales had to make 236 tackles. Both teams putting in one heck of a shift defensively, again, making a huge number of tackles. This was a really fun, really physical game to watch, kind of a little bit old school, getting a little bit more towards the old school physical side, which is always fun to see. So a really good win for Ireland this past week, keeps them in the hunt for winning the Six Nations title. In addition, not the results that Wales was looking for. However, the way they played against Scotland in round 3, that momentum continued into round 4. Hopefully, they can continue this positive momentum of playing really well into round 5. Moving to our next game was Scotland versus France. Scotland won by a score of 50-40. This is I'm laughing because this is a defense was optional type of game. But I will say, having watched this game, Scotland was the much more dominant team right from the get-go. It wasn't until, probably like the last 10, 12, maybe 15 minutes where France really put in a good effort to try to get a scoring bonus point, scoring 4 tries to get a bonus point. But this was one of the better games I have seen this Scottish team play in quite some time. And there were 2 things that stuck out to me as I was going through these stats. And it's down here on the bottom half. And the 2 things that stuck out to me was turnovers lost and penalties conceded. Throughout the first 3 rounds of this tournament, France has made a large number of handling errors and has turned the ball and had a lot of turnovers lost. I will chalk some of that up to weather. They have played in pretty poor weather conditions a couple times, but that was not the case this week. It's perfectly fine in Edinburgh this past weekend, and they still had 15 turnovers lost to just 9 for Scotland. In addition, not that France was hugely ill-disciplined, but in comparison to Scotland, France was much more ill-disciplined this past week than the Scottish team was. France had 10 penalties that they conceded to just 4 for Scotland. So, again, really great win for Scotland here. Helps keep them in the running for a Six Nations title. France is still in the running for a Six Nations title, but with the loss this weekend, they can't get the Grand Slam anymore. So, both teams are definitely going to be looking for a victory this weekend because their destiny is essentially in their hands. And the third and final game of this weekend was probably the best one of them all. It's the closest one of them all. Italy versus England, where Italy won by a score of 23-18. And this game was awesome. It was great. It was really competitive between the two teams from the first whistle to the last whistle. There was a lot of emotion, a lot of care from both sides. Both teams wanted to win at the scrum. Both teams wanted to win at the line-out. Defense had to be strong, physical, even though it wasn't nearly as many tackles as the Ireland-Wales game. It was still really physical defense by both teams, just showing a lot of care and a lot of passion. Now, there was one thing that did kind of stick out to me and maybe gave Italy that slight edge to get that last score to cement their victory. And it's down here at the bottom. And it just showcases slightly more efficient offense for Italy to England. And it's defenders beaten and how many clean breaks that translated to. So Italy had 20 defenders beaten, which they translated into 8 clean breaks. On the other hand, England had 32 defenders beaten, but that only translated into 6 clean breaks. So Italy needs less defenders beaten, has more opportunities for clean breaks. I understand it's a bit of a stretch here, but 1 to 2 extra Tommaso Menoncello breaks can give you definitely a scoring opportunity to try to cement a victory. Just saying. So, really great win for Italy this week. This is the first win Italy has had over England in many, many years. So, this has been a very strong Six Nations tournament for this Italian team, in my personal opinion. So, Italy obviously will try to end the Six Nations on a high note as they go to round 5. And England, obviously, I don't think this has been the Six Nations that they have wanted, but they've got one more chance to right the ship and go home on a positive note. So with all of that being said, let's take a look at the live ladder here. On the left side is what the ladder looked like at the end of round 3. On the right side is the results and the live ladder as of this past Monday after round 4. Not much movement this past weekend, except Italy and England swapped spots. So Italy went up to spot number 4, England dropped down to spot number 5. And it's a very, very close competition between the top 3 teams here. Each of them kind of have their destiny in their own hands. France, Scotland, Ireland all have a chance at winning the Six Nations tournament, depending on the results of round 5. And here is the schedule for round 5. So every single year at the Six Nations tournament, the 5th and final round is what's called Super Saturday, where all teams play on Saturday, and we figure out who the winner of the Six Nations tournament is. So Super Saturday starts off with Ireland versus England. The second game of the day is Wales versus Italy. And the third and final game of round 5 in the Six Nations tournament is France versus England. Now, not that all games aren't important in this tournament, but I would say the Ireland versus Scotland game and the France versus England game are the two games that carry the most weight in this particular round, because all three of those teams in those two games have a chance at sealing victory and winning the Six Nations Cup. So that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to the video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, hit subscribe. Feel free to share this with anybody that you think might enjoy this. And we'll be back next week to finish up the Six Nations and go over round 5. See you then.